Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra, Kaye, and I'm sitting here with Donovan, a recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Brenner. We are not live. I should say that right at the top, but we'll be live later, 5 p.m. I don't know. We'll talk about it. So many things going on. I could have talked about 100 things here, but I decided to dwindle it down to one thing, and we're going to be talking about Congresswoman LaMonica McIvers. She is going to be charged by the DOJ, Trump's DOJ, for some tomfoolery that she engaged in not too long ago. I'm going to get into that in just a second. But I should also say that the purpose of the Demetra Kaye Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Again, we are not live. Be live later. Donovan, what say you?
What say me is welcome to the Demetra Kaye podcast. Great to have you guys here. Great to have you guys back. Look behind me, you guys, those beautiful ladies right there, and the brother Phil Scott. Don't forget, the 24th of Columbus, you will see Demetra Kaye, brother Phil Scott, Vicky Dillard at the Black Expo. If you haven't got your tickets, or if you're planning to go, these are the people you guys want to see. They will be there live and in person. Do not forget to stop by, say hi, and do all that other great stuff. These great conversations does take time and effort. If you guys so wish to donate, and for those that have donated and continue to support the channel, we thank you guys so much. Please donate. You can do it by Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, and cash money order, however you guys want to do it. Also, do not forget, last time we did a show or program, people were talking about, well, we need our own Black app. We already got our own Black app. It's called the African Diaspora News Channel app. You can get it on Google Play, Apple Store. See, and that's one thing that kills me, Demetra. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody out there, but that's what I'm saying. We don't do enough research. If you really wanted to know if there were Black apps out there, you can Google it. You got a smartphone, and it's really unfortunate that a lot of people don't know that there are applications out there that you can join, and it's owned by us. But I can honestly say the African Diaspora News Channel app is Black owned. I actually say that. I can't speak for the other ones because I don't know. But again, you want to know what's going on in the African diaspora around the world, African Diaspora News app, you will see brother Phil Scott, Vicky Dillard, Demetra Kaye, and all the rest of the content creators and producers there telling you what's going on around the globe. And it's very, very interesting to know, because what happens over there happens here in the United States. Like I said, has anybody heard what's going on in Haiti? Nobody's heard. There's stuff going on, but a lot of people, they don't put that on the United States news. Why is that? Again, you can go to African Diaspora News Channel app. There are videos there that you're not going to see in the regular YouTube algorithm, which is why I promote the African Diaspora News Channel app on my programs and things like that. Because again, we get videos, and then there's other videos that we can't have these conversations on their platform. So again, African Diaspora News Channel app, Black Expo, May 24th. Be there. Demetra Kaye, brother Phil Scott, Vicky Dillard. Also, musical guests, New Orleans native Tidra Moses, Floetry vocalist Marsha Ambrosia. You guys got to be there. It's going to be lit.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get into it for the sake of time. So about a week or so ago at this point, there were a couple of politicians in New Jersey, one of them being the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, and some other people, LaMonica McIvers, who is also a congresswoman from New Jersey. They visited in like an ICE detention center where immigrants are being housed. Of course, you guys know, since Trump came into office, he decided, along with his borders are, that they were going to have a mass deportation effort going on, and they are doing that now. I don't know if y'all heard. I think it's about 350,000 Venezuelans lost their right to stay here as of yesterday. So the Trump administration can go about sending them back or ending their temporary status, because that's what they had under the Biden administration. So it is going in full effect. Now, of course, we've heard a lot about some of the inmates may have been detained improperly, basically not allowed to have due process under the law that I guess is afforded to some degree to immigrants. Trump is saying, screw all that. They got to go, right? So it does sound like the Supreme Court has made some rulings on some of the things, but it's just kind of all over the place, because admittedly, there's a lot of lawsuits against the Trump administration. But nevertheless, Mayor Ras Baraka, Congresswoman LaMonica McIvers, and a few others, they wanted to go see about those immigrants, but they were not allowed access to the detention facility. But they said, well, we are allowed as Congress people to go do that. It's our right. It's our job. But again, the authorities there said, no, you cannot do that. And so on that particular day, I'm going to show y'all a snippet of what happened. Now, again, she, being Monica McIvers, is being charged on, 2 accounts of assault, resisting arrest, and impeding an immigration and customs enforcement agent and a Homeland Security investigations special agent. So she's got a lot of charges. Now, U.S. interim attorney Alina Habba basically says, yeah, she's going to be charged. She says she tried to have a conversation with Representative McIvers, but she declined. So she said, all right, bet you did something you weren't supposed to do. Nobody is above the law, so you will be charged. Now, Ras Baraka was charged, but it seems like they dropped the charges on him. Maybe he, said, hey, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. It should also be said that attorney Habba used to be Trump's personal attorney, but she's not anymore. Now she's kind of interim for the government. So here's a snippet of the body cam footage from one of the officers of what happened.
To a congresswoman like that, and you gotta put your hands on me, you will pay. You guys are creating this. You will have to be this. If it's harassment, you know that's cool.
All right, so obviously LaMonica McIvers is the one in the red jacket. She's the one that says, how dare you? I'm a congresswoman. You don't put your hands on me and all this other stuff. What I was going to say, so she's only been a congresswoman since September of last year, so roughly 8 months. She won like a special election, I don't know, something like that. So she's new in Congress, although it sounds like she's had a life of servitude, if you will, in education, and she has a nonprofit helping girls and things like that. So she's newly there, but she's basically like, yeah, I'm a congresswoman. How dare you put your hands on me? I don't know how much of a Congress person rights that they have. Are they above the law? I don't know. And it's funny because they always talk about how Trump is not above the law, but I guess they want to be. So Donovan.
This is to me, I don't know why people are debating this issue with the illegal migrants. Okay, I've traveled a little bit in my lifetime, Demetra, and I'm going to tell you this. Due process in this country was set up for the citizens of this country. When you go to another country, go over there, break their law, and see what kind of due process you have. You don't have any due process because you're not a citizen. What is it about this that we don't understand? Especially these so-called educated boule HBCU graduates and all these elitists, okay? Due process in this country was set up for the United States citizen. If you are not a citizen here, the only due process you have is the process of deportation. That's it. Okay? And as far as our representative there, why is it that Black representatives, and I'm going to be honest about this. I look at these Black representatives, California, New York, wherever they're from, and I say, wow, you will crash out for people that are here illegally, willing to go to jail. But when a Black person is, and a citizen of this country is done wrong or whatever, I never see you show up. I never see these congressmen do what they are doing in regards to the Black community. And I'm not just talking about the Black congressmen, AOC, all of them. I never see them crashing out the way they're crashing out for these people that shouldn't be here in the beginning. We've got people in Chicago whose homes are being stolen by their government, and all kinds of shenanigans going on here in California, all kinds of shenanigans going on, Maryland, all kinds of shenanigans going on, and you hear nothing but silence from the Black representatives and all these congressmen. I'm looking at these congressmen and I'm saying, wow, Chris Van Hollen will go all the way to El Salvador to talk to a non-citizen, whatever his situation was, to get him out of that country. I just don't understand it. I mean, I don't understand why our people are looking at these people. How do these people get reelected? How? So I don't know if it's just me, if that's something I'm noticing, but I've never seen the crash outs from representatives in regards to Black people.
No, that's absolutely true. And I should say, point of correction, the U.S. Constitution does guarantee, and I looked, it says, yes, immigrants, including those who are not U.S. citizens, are entitled to due process. The U.S. Constitution guarantees due process to all persons, and they emphasize persons within the country, regardless of immigration status. This means they are entitled to fair treatment under the law, including the right to a fair hearing and the right to be heard before being deported. So that's, I guess,
right. No, but see, but that's what I said. They have due right of process to be deported.
No. That's not what it says.
No. You're missing what I'm saying. They have the right of due process in the deportation. That's what I'm saying. They're getting all the rights that they're entitled by the Constitution as they're being processed out. They have a right to appear. Yeah, they have a right to appear before a court, so on, and so forth. They have those rights.
Though, actually, that's what the point of contention is, because a lot of them have not. Hence, the Venezuelans or the people who were sent to CCOT in El Salvador, those people were fast-tracked and they were not.
Yeah, no. But what I said, though, was I agree with you. They have the right of process. I agree with that.
So I'm saying the point of contention is because some of them have not gotten that. Trump's using that 1700 something wartime, loophole to deport people. For whatever reason, right? That's
right. Which is legal also. Which is legal also. We have laws that sometimes countermand each other. So.
Yeah, but a lot of judges have ruled that to not be the point. And it's not my facts. I'm just telling you what it is, right? Whether we agree on it or not, the point of contention is that some of them have not gotten what they call due process, right? Even though they're not here legally, but then some will argue. And to me, it's just like common sense. Biden told them they could come over here. Now, maybe that's because he wasn't in his right mind, what he was doing, as we've learned, but he told them they could come over here, right? So they're here, and some of them did get some temporary status, things like that. So now the argument is, and it's not my opinion, I'm just telling y'all what it is. The point of contention is they have not been given due process under the law before they are deported. Y'all saw Trump made this pomp and circumstance about putting them all on planes and they was getting head shake. They didn't get no due process. Okay, that's kind of what a point of contention is. But even with that, you got these Congress people who are crashing out. And as I've said in a few videos that I've done on African National News Channel, I've done it here. We don't ever see them, especially the Black ones, doing any of that, going to knock on the doors of those prisons and say, hey, I heard it. Because listen, one thing we know about the prison system in the United States of America is brutal, right? And I know some people say, well, it's prison. Nah, prison ain't supposed to be like that, okay? Because some of those people ain't there for a lifetime. Some of those people did something, they didn't murder nobody, nothing like that, and they go through the worst hell on earth, right? And that's due to a lot of things that are not regulated in the prison. So I say all that to say, there's a lot of people being treated inhumanely in those prisons, and I've not heard about any of them demanding the warden open up the doors and let us talk to these people, because we hear about things that's going on. But so we want to have a conversation with them to see what's going on. In Texas, from what I understand, they don't have any, if not very little, air conditioning in prisons. It's hot right now. It's in the 90s. That's inhumane to have people in concrete buildings with no air conditioning, right? I mean, it's almost cruel, if you ask me, right? Constitution. You cruel and unusual punishment. You're not supposed to do any of that. Anyway, I digress. But we don't hear any of them taking up the mantle, if you will, to help Black people. These are Black politicians, but they're going to want Black people to show up for them to keep them in office. And it is disheartening to see them show up and act a donkey in front of these detention centers and flying. I know Holland or whatever his name is. He's not Black, but you flying all over the place. You want to check on these people? You see Jasmine Crockett screaming and hollering about the immigrants. I'll never see her screaming and hollering about Black people. So Black people, we need to think about that. Next time they need us to vote, say, nah, go knock on them doors at the detention centers, the ICE detention centers, to see if they can come vote for you. Tell you what, if they can show up and vote for you, then I'll be right behind them. I'll vote for you too. If those immigrants could come and cast a ballot for you, then hell, I'd do it too. We know that ain't gonna be the case.
You know, and again, you know, I mean, I don't know if it's that I'm seeing stuff with my clear conscience, or I'm contrasting the difference. It's overwhelmingly incredible how they will get up in the halls of Congress and speak on the injustice that is being done to immigrants, but would not say one word about the injustice that's going on right here in America to Americans descended of slaves. Not one word. You know, police brutality. You know, everybody knows there's a stigma with Black people and police brutality, but yet not one bill of Congress has been introduced or passed in regards to that by Black representatives. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The facts are, you know, what they are. You know, I always tell my Democratic friends that are crashing out all over the place, what is your plan? Yeah, okay, Trump's a douchebag. I agree. Whatever. But we knew all this was coming. What did the Democrats do to stop it? What guardrails did they put up? They had 4 years. Matter of fact, when Trump left office, he stayed in campaign mode, right? So you had all this time to change the laws. You had 2 years of unadulterated power to do whatever you wanted to do, but you prioritize illegal immigrants to come to the country and flood Black neighborhoods. Didn't put up any guardrails, anything to stop Trump. So when I hear these Democrats crashing out and doing what they're doing, I said, okay, all right, the immigrants are here. What are you going to do? Okay, let's say hypothetically we allow them to stay. California just now realized putting the illegals on the Medicare system here in California has put us in a $10 billion deficit, when initially they told Gavin Newsom it would add $22 billion to the deficit of California's bill, which reduces help and programs for regular citizens that are already here. And all of a sudden, Gavin Newsom is trying to move to the right and to the center, talking about, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But you signed it, you hair hat. You signed it, and they told you not to do this. So hypothetically, my Democratic friends, let's just say we're going to take your mantle. Where are we going to get the money to support these people? We push Black people out into the streets. 1 million veterans are out into the streets to house these people so that they can work at less than minimum wage by the corporations. And to me, if you guys are for these people coming here, doing this, working less, they're working jobs Americans don't want. No, they're not. That's a fallacy. You are for slave wages, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. You're a national disgrace. And yes, I'm going to say that. If you are championing this mantra, they're working jobs Americans won't work, that's BS. I want people to work livable wage jobs. If there was a job paying $50 to pick cotton, Jasmine Crockett, Black people would be out there picking cotton an hour and full benefits, they would do it. That's what we need to concentrate on. This, I'm better than these people, so we're going to bring them in and treat them, less than human beings as well by not paying them correctly. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
Well, I think the fact of the matter is the asks is a little different for immigrants. Immigrants are going to do those jobs for nothing, but you also got to follow the breadcrumbs. As I always say, the breadcrumbs lead to a lot of lobbying, right? And where do those lobbyists come from? Corporations. Their corporate is on both sides of the aisle. A lot of times people talk about Trump and he's making these deals and his money, blah, 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 blah. They all do it. And a lot of these corporations are like, look, these Americans are not showing up for these $7.25 $1 an hour jobs anymore. They won't do it. Hell, the kids won't even do it. The kids are figuring out other ways to make money. They on TikTok and, whatever they're doing, right? And so we're not going to pay them a livable wage. It just said that minimum wage should be anywhere between $25 and $32 an hour. And it might even be more now, depending on where you live. There is
real quick, did you hear California trying to introduce a $30 wage now? $22 for enough, yeah.
Yeah, they should. But there's nowhere in the United States of America where you can make $7.25 an hour and survive. Nowhere. Not even in Mississippi. There's nowhere you could do that. And it's not been raised since the 90s. I think minimum wage has been, $7.25. Now we know that inflation hasn't been stagnant. It's gone up. So cost of living rather has done this, and minimum wage has done that, right? So I say all that to say, yeah, the Democrats are like, okay, and let's keep it a buck. Republicans too. See, they dirty on the low. They have. I heard. I saw an article. I didn't read into it, so don't quote me. But Kid Rock, he closed his restaurant wherever it is for a little while because ICE raids was rolling through there. Now, why he closing his restaurant? Because ICE raids is rolling through. Because he got people who ain't supposed to be here legally. Now he all up Trump's little orange behind, and co-sign everything he does. So a lot of those Republicans, even when this became an issue in the I-9 thing, they try to, so you have to verify that you are legally here to work. You can work here legally. A lot of those Republicans were getting busted because they had, maids and all kind of people that are illegal working in their businesses and stuff. So it's not just a Democrat thing. However, the Democrats kicked the door wide open during the Biden administration. And I say all that to say is, okay, here comes some cheap labor. The corporations, they giving us a kickback because when lobbyists go, they don't go with nothing in their hand. They like, listen, we'll do this and that for this organization, this, that, and the other, if you do what we want. That's why I like Andrew Yang. When he was running for president, he says, let's do democracy dollars. Democracy dollars will give, let's say, he says hypothetically 100 to every citizen, and they can put that money into whatever candidate's campaign that they want, removing the lobbyists out of the way, right? So again, all those little minimum wage jobs are always hiring, but in order for somebody, and listen, if you're grown, because back in the day, when I worked at McDonald's when I was in high school, that's when I was supposed to work at McDonald's. Now you got grown-ups working at McDonald's, Taco Bell, and some other, side hustle just to be able to put food on the table. We ain't talking about people who trying to go on vacation and live elaborately and all this other stuff. We're talking about people's like, listen, I got to put all these minimum wage jobs together. And if you put 3 of those together, that's, $23 an hour, especially if you live somewhere in California, that's not nearly enough. So they're all in cahoots. Bring these migrants over. Let them work, these minimum wage jobs. And hell, in California, they gatekeep those jobs because they making, $21 an hour or something like that. So the Mexicans get in there and they tell the black people and everybody else, oh, no, we not hiring when there's a big old giant, we hiring sign on the thing because they let all their homies come in here. So don't ever think, and again, here you go. Read the Communist Manifesto. It tells you everything else under the umbrella of capitalism is about race, politician, gender, and all that other stuff. See, they tell us, and there's a lot of racism involved, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, them corporatists and those corporations like, I don't give a damn if a Martian come over here. We need to fill these jobs, okay? Screw the Americans. They don't care if they on the street. They don't care if they can't pay their rent. We just need people to get in these factories. So pay attention to that. That's why those immigrants are over here, because we ain't going to do those jobs. And a lot of those jobs, it's like picking cotton, because I'm not going to work nowhere for $7.25. After you make $7.25, 8 hours a day, you're looking at about $30-something. And I done gave you 8 hours for $30-something after they come get taxes and FICA, whoever the hell that is. I'm leaving with $35. Who the hell want to do that?
Yeah, and you bring up great points. And I just wish more people would understand that white supremacy is just that, white supremacy. It doesn't matter if you got an R in front of your name or a D in front of your name. The thing is, they're in cahoots together. Both sides are controlled by corporate interests. So while the Democrats take the heat for this illegal immigration, because remember in the 80s, Reagan gave immunity to all those illegals that came in during the 80s. That was a Republican president. He's like, well, I'm against it, but I'll let 11 million in. No big deal. Okay, whatever. Right now, California is a super democratic state now. Whatever the deal is. But my point is, I just wish people would understand that if these corporations would pay a livable wage, and I'm a firm believer in this. And like I said, I've read the Communist Manifesto several times. If they were paying $50 an hour, I'm just using me. I can't speak for anybody else. If they were paying $50 an hour with full benefits, I would be out there picking cotton. I would. If they're, everybody has a price. And I honestly believe that. But see, they don't want to do that. And both these parties work together. Good cop, bad cop. And they don't care how. Okay, the Democrats are like, okay, we're going to take a hit for this. But guess what? Now we got 22 million people in here that are going to do the job that we can keep the wages right over here. Because again, like you said, if minimum wage hasn't been risen since the 1990s.
And I stand corrected, it's 2009. So I stand corrected.
2009. But still, Demetra, I remember when I started working at 14, I was making $2.72 an hour. And I was living overseas in Japan. And that was a program, called Summer Hire that they did for the dependents and stuff, for military people to keep us out of trouble. That was back then. You mean to tell me from that time until now, there's only been a $5 difference? I'm 40 years removed from high school, 30, 40 years removed from high school. It's like, what's going on here? But I just want people to stop with this Democrat Republican stuff, especially if you're a black person. You need to stop with that. They are the same people. They just play good cop, bad cop. And if once we see what's going on and you know what's going on, you won't be so disheartened and you won't be so upset as much as they try to make you upset. The Democrats are good at making you get emotional and all this other stuff. Let these migrants come in here and do what they got to do. I don't know if people follow me on Facebook, but I put up, remember that episode in Which Way Is Up starring the great Richard Pryor, where he was saying, that's between them Mexican and the white folks. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. Let them do what they're going to do, because it is obvious in this country, we have to do for self. And again, when I see these representatives, black representatives, crashing out for people who their representatives don't crash out for us, they need to be removed. They need to stop being reelected. They need to be removed.
Yeah, when I was working in 86 at McDonald's, when I think I was to turn 16. Yeah, 16, 17, something like that. Minimum wage was $3.35. So 86 to 2009, even 86 to 2025. It's a little over three. It has increased a little bit more than half. That's crazy. That's insane. Now, even back then, I didn't have to pay no bills or nothing like that because, I was a kid. But I was able to save a whole lot of money, right? And I'd have to look at the numbers to see what the cost of living was then. But again, when I worked at McDonald's, it was mostly kids that were in high school, right? All the homies from all the schools around, we all worked there. And it was fun because it was fun when you didn't have any bills to pay, right? You was saving up for summer school, or school clothes and all that.
You learned your work ethic. You started your work ethic, right?
Yeah, but now, like I said, you go into most of these establishments, you rarely see kids. You mostly see adults. And I know a lot of times people like to get on their high horse and say, they need to be trying to find a job. Everybody ain't going to go work in no corporate America or, none of that other stuff. And I would imagine there's some adults that like working there, but there's a lot who's like, hey, this is putting food on the table. I'm not too proud to work here. And I'm not saying I would never work at a fast food restaurant if, it came to that. I would go and, flip some burgers or where I ain't going to be there long. Now, don't get me wrong, but I would do it. If you ever saw me in a Taco Bell, McDonald's, it's because I had to be here, okay? It ain't because it's for fun or I'm just trying to get free food. Nah, it's because I got to be up in here. So, That's really where the problem lies. The problem is these Congress people in Washington or whatever, they don't care about people. They care about the money, because we always talk about how they go in there, you know, as a bartender or you know, something meager, and they come out there wealthy, you know, which is why you would ask yourself, we ponder this a lot. Why would somebody in their 80s want to continue working anywhere, right? Or in Washington, where there's a lot of stress? It ain't because they doing nothing. We know they're not doing nothing. Congress actually is a description for a group of baboons. Look it up. So, you know, they're not really in there doing much, but they're enriching themselves. They're putting more money in the coffer. So they're there like, I can't give this up. I can't give this up, because if I do, somebody else gonna come get the seat and they gonna get all the money, which is why you don't see Nancy Pelosi no more. You don't see Maxine Waters, James Clyburn, or any of these other triple OGs. They at home. I guarantee if you look at the latest votes, they probably absent or whatever. I don't know. But they're still collecting money because they still king and queen makers to some degree. And they're going to die, which is why they do in those positions. It's always going to be about the money and never about the people.
Yeah, you know, this weekend when they were talking about the Biden situation, they asked James Clyburn, which we hadn't seen. We haven't seen James Clyburn really in 2 years. He's just been absent. They said, do you really think that Joe Biden would have successfully, knowing what we know now, successfully completed a second term? Clyburn's answer was, yes, I really do believe he would have been second term, right? But here's the thing. Joe Biden's 82 years old. Jim Clyburn is 84. Of course he's going to say yes. Of course he's going to say it.
And with that, you know, with Joe Biden, of course, there's an expose called Original Sin by Jake Trapper and some other guy. Forgive me, I don't remember his name, but they wrote an expose about Joe Biden and the people around him, the staff and the DNC, some of those people. They knew that he was not in the position to be president, even the first term, but they got it by the American people. But we talked about it a lot. Like, they was wrong for putting Joe Biden up there. And they said that the gig was going to be, all we got to do is just get him reelected, which is why he went up to damn near the 11th hour before they gave it to Kamala. All we got to do is get him elected, because that way he can be in the shadows. And of course, we know the president is a figurehead and everybody else can run the country. That's what they were going to do, but they can no longer go with the lie due to the debate between him and Trump, which is the only one that they had. And it was Jake Trapper, and I forget the other woman's name, forgive me, that did the debate. And he said, he was like, he played a snippet of the answer Joe Biden gave, and it was just not coherent. He was talking about, we saved Medicare, and it was just all over the place. And he says, I guess when they went on break, they was like, what the hell is going on here, right? And as I always say, too, as I was watching the debate, I could tell that Trump was like, I can't really beat up on this dude because clearly something wrong. Now, they also disclosed that, yeah, and Trump, you know, I know Trump is cuckoo. He cuckoo on a lot of stuff, but he told a lot of the truth when he says, oh, well, you know, we know that that's why I called him Sleepy Joe, right? We know he's in bed at 4 in the afternoon. And that's what they said. They said by 4:30, he'd retire, I guess upstairs. That's where he would stay, you know, his room. He'd go up there. He said, and we'd never see him again to the next day. He often tapped out early. You know, of course, a lot of other things they saw that was like, wait a minute now. So I don't know why it's called the original sin. The original sin is slavery, but they called it the original sin. But perhaps because everybody knew that they were selling the American people a false bill of goods with him, but they were going to do it anyway, which also proves the point, if you listen, that the president ain't running the country, because y'all was going to do a weekend at Bernie's with him if he got in. But that debate made people ask questions like, our suspicions are now confirmed that this dude is a shell of who he used to be.
Yeah, you know, and you bring up a good point, Matt. You know, people don't see now that the president is nothing but a figurehead, and he's an arms salesman. All he does is talk about this country's desire for peace while he promotes and sells weapons of war to the enemies across and abroad. But the one thing I will say about these Democratic shields, you know, like for me, I'm tired of lies. This is one other reason why I left the Democratic Party. I am tired of the lies and the the fakeness of it, because, you know, I was watching a clip of The View this morning, and I don't watch it, but I'm talking about on YouTube. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we got to move on from Joe Biden. See, it's like, wait a minute, who was running the country for the last 4 years? We didn't elect these people to run the country. They elected Joe Biden to run the country. But now the narrative is, oh, we just got to move on. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we subverted democracy, but we just got to move on from it. But these are the very same people, Jake Tapper included, that was out there talking about, he's never been sharper. Oh my God, yeah, what? Oh my God, he's great. You know, Morning Joe. Oh yeah, he's the best Joe Biden I've ever seen. Now the narrative is, oh, we just got to move on. Let's just move on to different things. So we're just going to sweep all of this under the rug. Operation Mockingbird, CIA, sweep all this under the rug, and no investigations, no nothing. How did cocaine get in the White House? None of this stuff is going to be investigated because, oh, well, Joe Biden, whatever. See, I knew Joe Biden had a problem when he did the exact same thing that Trump did by taking classified documents to his home. And what did the investigator say? Joe Biden is an older, you know, man who doesn't really seem to have all, you know, his faculties, and he's just a well-intentioned older man, paraphrasing. And they let him slide. But then Trump does the exact same thing, and oh no, we got to hold him accountable. So, you know, again, I really do hope more people wake up to these games, these political games that are played by the Republican and the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and that's just that. They both have a giant broom and they're sweeping things under the rug. There's nothing that's going to be done about it, because I think it was a lot of people knew that Joe Biden was in a situation he's in. If you ever listen to Joe Biden talk, he often said, I got friends on both sides of the aisle, you know, and this, that, and he did. He's a Dixiecrat and all. So I think everybody knew, because they being the oligarchy and the people in government and the lobbyists, and they all benefit from, regardless of who is in office. The interest is always going to be for the betterment of the money makers, right? Or the money getters, or however you want to say it. But there's nothing going to be done about it. There's no investigation. I think what needs to be done is the American people need to wake up and say, do we really have a choice? Does our vote really matter? Because as I said, the people who voted for Joe Biden, I know a lot of them probably really did vote for him because they thought he was going to be the best solution. But a lot of them didn't vote for Joe Biden knowing that there was just, you know, the deviousness going on behind the scenes, that this man is essentially, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, he's a puppet. Now, they all are puppets, don't get me wrong, but like a puppet in the true sense of the word, because he wasn't all the way there, you know, and they talked about that as well. There's sometimes he'd be fully in his faculties and sometimes he wouldn't. And, you know, it said, which gave validity to when we see him handshaking with the air and, you know, just kind of doing a robot on the stage and not really there, you know, type of thing. But nothing.
That was an AI fake. They told us that was an AI fake. You know, they just kept gaslighting us. Oh, you don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah. Well, you know, regardless of what it was, the gig is up now. But so Joe Biden is really one conversation. The other conversation is, okay, Joe Biden is not the only one. We saw Mitch McConnell. This is where the Republicans need to stick themselves. Mitch McConnell was standing up there a few times, you know, and they say he falling all down and stuff too. So it's like you got smoke for Joe Biden, but you don't have smoke for Mitch McConnell. And y'all saw him do all that stuff in front of y'all, seen it, but yet nobody, and I'm sure maybe somebody did now because it doesn't sound like he's going to seek re-election, but nobody thought to say, hey, partner, it's time to sit it on down. You freezing, you know, and falling out. So while they talk a lot of stuff about Joe Biden, listen, y'all know I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but I'm a fan of common sense, right? Republicans talking all that, you know, Joe Biden, man, y'all got a whole lot of people in y'all party that need to sit down. The other part of that too is Nancy Pelosi, as I said, James Clyburn, Maxine Waters, God love her, but she show up on TV straightening her damn wig. But to me, that's a very geriatric moment right there, you know. So there's a lot of them that are just, I mean, hell, how many of them do we need to see die in office? Feinstein, Jackson Lee, Sylvester Turner, he was only there 2 minutes and he, you know, and the rest of them. So that's a conversation that needs to be had all throughout Washington. Are you too old? especially when, we saw Nancy Pelosi. She's on what is a walker, a cane. It's a lot going on. And I know there's got these ageism laws or whatever, but these are the people with their finger on the button of the country. And half the time, they don't even know they're there. That's scary.
Well, think about this real quick to me before we get out of here. If you could put a term limit on the president of the United States, saying that in the case of FDR, oh, we don't want kings, we don't want dynasties formed in the United States. What the hell are they doing in Congress? If you have your fiefdom in Congress, it's no different. So if we could put term limits on the president, why can't we put? Because we're seeing what's happening by not having term limits. They really need to go in there and think about that. But see, the thing is, they won't, because, like you said, it's all about the money. As long as I can stay in here, as long as I can, it's all about the money. But who suffers, and who's suffering now? Do you know what's crazy about this whole thing? The most progressive generation of our time, the baby boomers, who came in here with the slogans of "Don't trust nobody over 30. We're going to change the world with music. We're going to love, 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 and peace, and all this other stuff." This transformative generation. They fought the civil rights. They fought in Vietnam. They went through Watergate and questioned the government. Became the very thing that they fought against. Big government and government intrusion and stuff like that. And, these people that were, back in the day, a lot of people were socialists. Oh, everybody should be fair. Everybody should have a house. Everybody should do this. Now these people are big developers making their money and doing all this other stuff. And the sad thing is, because of their selfishness as a generation, it has now affected our generation. We're not going to see real leadership in this country. Our children's generation, they're going to get leadership, but it's going to be so drastic. Joe Biden's gone. Now you got my grandson president of the United States, and it's a totally different spectrum of how they see things. And it's just sad, but I really do think that they should be talking about term limits, and just like they're talking about the stock options. If you're in Congress, you should not be able to trade in the stock market. But see, they throw this out here to make us feel good. Like, oh yeah, they're going to do something about it. Show and prove. Pass the law. Pass the bill. Even Trump is saying certain, like, hey, put it in front of me. I'll sign it. No big deal. And it's all fluff. I'm just hoping more and more people are waking up of the shell game the Democrats and the Republicans play on the American people.
Yeah, and as I said, a couple of minutes ago, a lot of these people won't retire because they're king and queen makers. But so with that train of thought, that president has term limits because there's no kings. Well, shouldn't that apply to the king and queen makers? Congress has more power than the president. They literally can change the Constitution. They can literally tell the president what you can and cannot do via changing the Constitution, so that they are able to stay in there from very young people all the way up to geriatric tomatoes, because the tomato don't think, right? The tomato is just kind of there. They could do that. But it also states why they won't ever change the Constitution in regards to them, because, hey, and they're only there, it could be for only 2 years, right? Because that's the term of a congressperson, a representative, rather, a House representative is 2 years. So they're probably like, well, I just got here. And if you technically think about it, yeah, they just got there. And it's almost like a year after they get there, they got to go into campaign mode, right? Because I got to, stay in here. But yeah, there should be term limits. Okay, you get 4, maybe 6 terms. 6 years, good 6 years. You get 6 years. And if you ain't did a job and got all the money you was going to get from this job personally, then you need to go and find something else to do. But they need term limits. I'm sorry. That, to me, is kind of in the same vein, but not necessarily. You got some doctors who work up into, very old. But I'll be damned if you're a brain surgeon and you say, I'm going to write you down for the next Tuesday. I'm personally going to do your brain. No, the hell you ain't, But with that, and again, I'm going to be old one day. And I hope that when I get to the point where I'm like this over the steering wheel, driving. My daughter be like, hey, give me the keys home, girl. It has to come to that. These older people are at the helm of the government of what they say is the head of the free world. United States of America, legislating like we in 1962. Whatever, I know what is best for the country. You don't even know how to work a computer, sucker. And I say that, you don't know how you work a computer. You don't even put up your own TikToks. You on TV straightening your wig. You on TV. So at some point in time, that conversation needs to be had. Thank you for your service. Shady Pines awaits. A good one.
Yeah, and even in the military, you can't stay forever. You eventually have to leave. And only a select few get to stay a little longer. But outside of that, eventually you got to leave. So, and this is why I think the country is in trouble, because the baby boomers became what their parents had told them. Wait your turn, whatever the deal is. And this is why we're in trouble right now as a country, because of the younger people don't have the experience that they should have, because these people are occupying those seats.
Absolutely. So in closing, Representative LaMonica McIvers, she should be one term as well for the foolishness that she has going on, and everybody else who thinks they should be busting up into detention centers and getting charged and all of that, because I'm a congresswoman, you need to just not be there no more. Go find something else to do. You want to be a professional protester. Yeah, you go do that, whatever it is you need to go do, or whatever the case is. And yeah, in regards to these politicians, ain't none of them, we know there's no earthly good to people at all. Their mission is money. That's the master that they serve. But, you do have some choice on the state and local election. That's where it matters most. That's where your Congress people are. That's where your senators are, your mayors, all those people are there, and they have more of a direct effect on your life. If you turn on the television and you see your Congresswoman out there acting a donkey for people who shouldn't be here, while you couldn't even go get a food or a stamp, then you need to go and make sure they only can do that to you once. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, we will be back here. Donovan, I know you got something to do. All right, so we'll be back here at 5, which is in from a couple hours from here, because I'm going to put this up in a minute. Anyway, we love and appreciate every last one of y'all. Again, if y'all found value in what we do here, please do not hesitate to donate to the channel. Every little bit helps, as it does cost something to run this channel. Anyway, we'll see you guys in just a little bit. Peace.